All right. Paul, are you researching something intently? Are you looking up that movie?
Very perceptive. No, I was looking up the wheel, the Baba Chakra wheel that we you showed less
Chakra.
chakra. Okay,
Yeah.
Baba Chakra.
Yeah. If you say
Because
Wheel of
I
Life,
just remembered it, and it was it's just such an interesting image. There's so much in
uh,
there.
yeah, dude, check this out.
Oh yeah.
Got that in a poll. Uh, well, hold on. I'm gonna stop for Tommy's. All right, cool. Um, okay. I have a little bit of an ambitious agenda today. How unlike me. Um, there's a chance that this may be one of our last classes of this kind. Um, Spiritual Warrior is kind of gonna go to sleep because uh, look at us. It's great, but I don't know. It's been a lot more challenging to grow than so I'm gonna let it evolve into a different form. So my goal today is to kind of hit the rest of it and then leave you with a really badass technique, and then we'll see where the cards lay as far as continuing in this like really nice, fun uh, like hangout stuff. Um, so anyway, I want to kind of hit the rest of it just in case this is the last time that we do this. All right. And then uh I create a little game called Concentration Defense. But we'll go with that in a little bit. Okay. So, where we are in the meditation process. Make offerings, sit down, visualize garden, accumulate good at it. Yeah, prostrate, offering is confession. So we stopped at confession. I'm going to tell you a story that my teacher tells of his teacher. So his teacher was my teacher's teacher was the tutor to the Dalai Lama. So, you can think he's like the premier Buddhist teacher if that's the one who's going to teach them the spiritual leader of like all of the lineage. And so he came to America for the first time and he went to this Catholic church. Um, and he's just like, wow, this place is beautiful. It's so amazing. And he goes, like, tell me about the place. And so the priest is like walking him through and he goes, yeah, here's our confession room. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. We do confession too. We love that. And then he keeps on going. And he goes, wait, where's the rejoicing room? And he goes, oh, we don't have that. So in Buddhism, it's really important to both confess and rejoice because, quite simply put, the entire seven ingredient prayer is literally just two things: accumulating good and reducing bad, amplifying good and reducing bad. Those are the two things. So if we're only reducing the bad, then we're leaving half of the meal on the table. We have to rejoice in the good. And so the rejoicing in the good is something that is historically very, very difficult for Westerners to do. Um, I don't know what it is about our culture. I think that it's like a bit of a Catholic legacy, even though we're a Protestant country by its foundations, but also like Puritanism. Anyway, complicated history. I'm not a historian. Moving on. So, what's really important is to amplify the good. Makes sense, right? There's a framework for spiritual warrior that I don't know, one day it'll come out, but there's three scopes of a spiritual warrior. Why does a spiritual warrior go to war? The first scope is stop making things worse. That's confession. The second thing is start making things better. Rejoice. And then the third is for everybody. So those are the three scopes. And then the fourth bonus track scope is as soon as possible. But that's a different ballgame. So, confession is simply taking out the power behind the thing which makes the seed grow. That's what we're doing there. We're taking the power out of. It's like you have a machine and you cut the power to it. So the machine's still there, but it's dormant now. The seed is still there. As soon as you plant a seed, there's no taking it back, ever, period. But what you can do is stop it from opening. So you hit it with a flame. or you hit it with some acid, or you put it in a set of conditions that would never be conducive to it growing, even if you don't modify the seed directly. So that's kind of what confession is taking away, quote unquote, the life force which makes the seed spring forth into a sprout. Tracking? Cool. So then rejoicing is the opposite of that. You juice up the power. You amplify the life force in the thing so that it more quickly goes from seed to fruit. That's the entire idea of rejoicing. So one of the reasons people get tripped up around rejoicing is because you think that it's self-gratification. Oh, I'm so awesome. Look at me. I'm so great. Rah, 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 roo, roo, roo. It's like this prideful kind of approach where that it's is very much a bad seed. To think that you're the coolest thing since sliced bread would be that would be bad. That would not be the way that you would want to train your mind. So rejoicing is simply about saying, I understand cause and effect. As soon as you understand cause and effect, it amplifies the good and it starts to diminish the bad. As soon as you start to understand cause and effect from its basis of emptiness, then you take out the horsepower, which opens up the bad seeds, and it amplifies and accelerates the horsepower in the good seeds opening up. So rejoicing is simply that. It's saying, yeah, that's a great cause. And another way to think of it is like, a healthy parent looking at their child and their child takes care of somebody else. The parent's gonna be like, that was good. Good
Uh,
job, kiddo.
cut,
Good?
quick
Yep.
question. If we practice and understand emptiness, how do you assign meaning or a positive association to a cause?
Does it reduce suffering or does it increase suffering? That is the value judgment on a cause. Is the nature of the cause something which creates suffering, if it were to fruit? Or is the nature of the cause something that reduces suffering or increases happiness or, any of the pleasant experiences? It's pleasant or unpleasant.
I guess that definitely makes sense in the black and white, but like in the real world. So for example, like sending somebody feedback that will be uncomfortable for them likely to receive, but may like in the long run may make them enjoy more.
Yeah. That's a fun question. Let me think of a creative way to say this. Okay, this is ironic because this slide is literally black and white. But I was going to say like, oh, hold on, let's go to my concentration defense game. Okay, so if you think about this image, concentration defense, the ultimate tower defense challenge. Don't let the distractions steal your precious single point of focus. So if you were to look at this image, it is one image. Would you agree that this is one image?
Mm-hmm.
Would you also agree that this image is made up of individual pixels?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that the pixels are of different quality?
They hold different qualities.
Yeah, totally. Different hues, different saturations, etc. And so, can we hold the complexity and the whole simultaneously? Yeah, we're doing it right now. I'm looking at an image, and I know that the image is made up of a complexity of small, individual, uniquely qualified things.
Mm-hmm.
And so our experiences are very complex. Remember, it's 64 in a finger snap. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, uh, it's like binary. Like, these are ones and zeros. And so it's like good karma, bad karma, good, and then all together that was a moment and an experience. So in a single moment, the other person might be like, "Wow, that was actually really helpful," and then the literal next moment they're like, "Jake's a total jerk," and the next moment they're like, "Wow, I've gained a little bit of insight." Now it's happening way too fast to have discrete thoughts like that. But when you talk about what an experience is, it's the same way that you would talk about an image. An image is made up of many small images. An experience is made up of an extraordinary quantity of discrete experiences. And then the collection is, what you call that 1 minute when I read your feedback. And so how will that come to fruit? It will come to fruit in full complexity.
What we're talking about is more about, less about. So like amplifying when you like are like if is the cause that I'm undertaking, am I maximizing the positive elements and am I limiting the negative elements to the degree that I'm capable of?
That's precisely it. Yeah. Give me an inch, and if it's a good inch, I'll make it a mile. If it's a bad inch, I'm gonna try to squash it into, 1/1000th of an inch.
Mhm.
Because it's like, if you're a chef, which we all are, someone gives you an ingredient. That's your life. What do you do
Mhm.
with it? And so that's the spiritual technology of Buddhism, is to take what you have and use it for the sake of all beings. So two ways, change what you have, right? And the other is just be really wise with what you do have.
Mhm.
Wisdom and compassion. And there's a whole, I mean, as you might imagine, the topic of karma is extremely, you could spend years teaching about karma. And so there's laws of karma and all that stuff that's outside of the scope of this course, but not, what they say is 90%. And by the way, it's not like literally 90%. Like I've never seen that in scripture. Like I don't know if they did percentages in 200 BC or something. Probably. I don't know. Anyway, the vast majority of the quality of the seed is the intention that you had doing it. 10% is the rest. Like, what did you actually do?
Mhm.
Right? And that's why manslaughter and premeditated murder is the same action, but with a totally different karmic cause. Because one is like, oh crap, I killed someone. That's really sad. And the other is like, I thought about this and I planned about it and I'm happy about it. Like it's a totally different quality. Same action. So of course your mind will take that shape accordingly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I did this really blasphemous thing, blasphemic. I don't know. I engaged in deep blasphemy. I was on top of this like really sacred monument in Indonesia, and my teachers were leading this really sacred meditation, and I didn't want to look at them. I wanted to look at the landscape because the landscape was like, this was like amongst rice paddies. It was just like so gorgeous, and I was just like, so I talked to my friend who, 35-year practitioner, and I said, dude, is it bad if I like face my back to the teacher? And he goes, and this is what he's literally always said as long as I've known him, and I think it's correct, which is, well, what's your motivation? That's
Mhm.
what makes something correct or not. And I was like, my motivation is to embrace the miracle of life, and I want to face this way to do that. Not for a lack over here, but for, and so I was like, great, that sounds awesome. And then I offered all the beauty to my teacher, right? So I'm still connected. I'm listening to their voice. I'm still doing the meditation, but okay. So rejoicing is simply one of the ways that I think about it is if the world was to take the image of your action, would you be happy about that? And if you are, then be happy about it. Yay! Like if more people were patient, like if I was more patient, if I saw a world of more patience, that would be awesome. And that is necessarily the result of the cause of being patient, you know? So I'm just going to be pumped on that. Again, not to think that I'm some great practitioner because I'm definitely not, but I'll take the wins when I can get them, and let me take an inch and turn it into a mile for the sake of all beings because I understand emptiness. Cool? All right. Um, and then these last couple, you can kind of rip through them. I mean, you could talk about requesting blessings. Like I could do probably a 3-year course on requesting blessing, um, which would be superb. Um, but that's outside the scope of this class. But I wanted to rip through these and give you guys something really, really, really practical. These are all really practical in a very esoteric way. Like these will change your state of being, as long as you continue. So urging, asking for teachings is really important. If you don't do that, your teachers go away. Um, you know, asking for teachings is one of the conditions for that to actually occur. You might have the seeds for teachings, but to be, like Jake said, if you don't ask a question, will you have the space to receive an answer? And so that's kind of the dynamic that you're intentionally engaging in. And then when the teachings come, they might not come in the way you want them. But that's not, that's not their fault. You asked for it. You're like, wait, I wanted something nice. And you're like, well, here's pain instead. And you're like, damn. But, it's a teaching, so pay attention. You asked for it. Geshe Michael always said, be careful when you do this part, because you'll get it. And then asking teachers to stay. Something that's like kind of like canon is one of the reasons why the Buddha left it. And I'm really bad with, I'm really not educated on like this kind of religious stuff. But so this is not accurate what I'm about to say. But the essence of it made an imprint in me. Um, the reason why the historical Buddha seemed to have gone into parinirvana, which is, seemed to die, is because someone didn't ask him to stay. So
Mm.
the cause for him to stay no longer existed, or something like that. And one of the things that I really enjoy with Buddhist practitioners is one of our like little ways to show affection to each other is to say, please stay. Like that's a really sweet thing, you know? Like, please stay in my life. I really love you. Please stay. And so the thing to do is, in Buddhism, um, if someone asks for a teaching, you're not supposed to give it to them unless they ask 3 times. So, please stay, please stay, please stay. And that's like kind of the trap that no Buddhist can ever escape from. And they're like, all right, now I have to. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Um, Question, I guess, on grasping
Yeah,
versus acceptance of what is. Um,
as it relates to people dying.
Asking a teacher to stay.
Yeah, man. But if you're not, I'll be fine.
I guess like how would you describe your mentality in phrasing that question? How do you think about it? Like, I guess number one, who do you think you're asking for?
Mhm.
Um,
So you're asking for teachers, and you're asking the teachers to stay because you want to keep learning for the sake of all beings. And who is the teacher? Well, that's an extremely personal question that is wherever you are in your practice. So there's an obvious gross version of that that's still accurate, and then there's an essential basic component of that which is also accurate. It's scaffolded. And so the most essential aspect of a teacher is their emptiness. And so what you're asking for when you're saying asking for teachings, you're saying, may I have the direct perception of emptiness? That's what you're asking for. But that's like a big jump, So it's like that cool, still have that in your heart, but also like I need training wheels for now. So if you could show up as just like a person that says I am a teacher, that would be really helpful because I'll be able to recognize it. You know,
so the teachings are perspective in a way.
the teachings are guidance to the truth, which comes through perspective, sure, but not necessarily.
Hmm.
Like the teaching could be a broken arm. The teacher could be the experience of breaking your arm.
Which exists to show you, like, to exhibit the multifaceted nature of that broken arm, the almost like infinite way interpretability
Uh,
of that broken arm.
yeah, I guess that's one way to say it. Um, Karma is non-transferable, right? So it's not like a mortgage. It's not like a bill of sale or something it's non-transferable. The proof of that is that I'm suffering. If so if there is a Buddha who no longer has any seeds of suffering left, then they would have given me all of them, and you, and all of us. But that's not the case because it's a discrete mind stream. So the kindest thing that a teacher could ever do for you is give the opportunity to show up powerfully so that you could create the causes for yourself, for your own sake, for everybody's sake. So the Buddha's teachings are heard, and there's a really beautiful, and Becky might know this. I think Becky is better at this kind of stuff than I am, but there's a classic scripture that's like the Buddha's teachings are heard in the form of a wave and the sound of the wind in the trees or something like that. Because a lot of people think that, the teachings only come from the person who says they're a teacher or from the person that you see as teacher. But the truth is that the teachings are everywhere in everything because everything has a basis of emptiness, and emptiness is the great clarifier. Emptiness is the ultimate nature of reality. So anything which is connected to emptiness is a teacher. And then how you respond to that, what a teacher does is they give you an opportunity to succeed. And so if you're able to dial in on the emptiness of a broken arm, and then maybe something really amazing happens after that that you could not have anticipated. Like there's a obligatory conscription into a draft into World War III and you can't go because you have a broken arm now. One might be able to see that as a blessing. And
Right.
so that's actually a teaching in emptiness because you didn't like it, now you do. Same thing. How's that, Jake?
It's great.
That's why what I sent you was, because I shared that song with you and it was like, oh my gosh, renunciation was there, like explicitly. Like Refuge was explicitly in the lyrics of this song from the 1980s. And he's like, I looked for
I
refuge
have
here.
like
I looked for refuge here, and it was not there. And I was just like, and you're like, oh my God, it was right there the whole time. And I'm gonna say this for everyone's benefit now. There's something called Jake, I'm gonna show everybody our conversations now, and it's recorded, so everyone can just here we go. Slow that down if you want to. So these are the refuge commitments. So this is one of the vows that someone who has taken vowed morality, uh, they take all these vows. I crossed out number 3 because I felt like it was improper to show that one without teaching it first. Usually you're supposed to teach all these before you show them to anybody. Um, but here we are. So number 5 is considering any written material at all from a single letter of the alphabet on up, as though it were the Dharma itself. And if you remember taking refuge in the 3 jewels, Dharma is one of the jewels, and the jewel of Dharma is emptiness itself. So you were to take a single letter as if it were the Dharma itself, once we have taken refuge in the Dharma. So, people get really upset when they like destroy a Bible. Like a Buddhist who really practice this would get upset when anybody destroyed anything out of a spirit of anger because every single letter is the Dharma itself. It's not just my text that's the Dharma, it's your text too. The Bible's exquisite. The Torah is immaculate. The Quran reveals the truth. Like it's all there all the time. Where else would it be if emptiness were actually a thing? And so, who is the teacher? It's the same idea. It's the same idea. The teacher and the teaching, you know, it's just different parts of the same essence.
Bob, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, and then I'm gonna cut you off.
Yeah, and then that's it. This is my third question. Um, when do you have a pattern or something that you've employed when somebody is reacting to something in front of you? So a friend is reacting angrily or has a negative reaction. I found that like a trap of mine is to react. Maybe the right word is judgment, but like what I would say is like, oh, the event that you're reacting to is neutral. The event that you're reacting to is empty, and therefore we could recognize and work through it as recognizing its emptiness. But in reality, I think that a more effective thing for me in that situation in terms of seeds is how I react to my friend reacting, as opposed to me trying to react like push on my friend how to react in that situation.
Yeah, great question. And maybe one day I'll write a course that's called How to Hang Out with Assholes and Have a Good Time.
Dude,
Um,
that's good. You should write a book.
yeah, because you can do it. Uh, I'm just taking a second to figure out how to be concise. I'm going to give you the catch-all answer that is always the answer, period, which is remember emptiness and then plant karma intelligently. So how to do that? That's where a lot of the skill comes in. Um, to judge someone and tell them how to be is a really quick way to make an asshole a bigger asshole. And it's a way to ensure that you'll have more assholes in your life. And maybe I'll do it in the form of a story. And then Jake, I'm happy to hang out with you and like I don't know, give you a more formal download. But it was before Thanksgiving. We were in a course with Geshe Michael, and someone said, "I'm going home to hang out with my family, and they all eat so much meat, and I can't help but see that as like suffering beings. What do I do? Like, how do I be graceful in that?" And he goes, "What do you want?" Uh, and he said, "You want to feel respect. You want to feel like everybody's respected, right? Because it's kind of disrespectful to kill a being, you know? And so what you want to feel is respect." So he said, "So give respect. Respect them. Honor their traditions, and then they'll honor you." I just thought that was so awesome. And then he told another story when he went to go live in a Mongolian monastery once, and he was going through all these really upset feelings because they were eating, I think it was goats or something like that. And the one of the High Lamas go, "Oh, look at Mike. He's given up meat, but he hasn't given up his mental afflictions." So anyway, maybe there's some lessons in there for you, but I want to keep rocking. It feels pretty urgent to get through this content. Thank you for asking the question. I hope that helped. Um, I just think that's so savage. Like respect and honor others, even if it's not what you agree with, and you plant the seeds to see all beings honored and respected. Um, cool. Supplication. Just did that. Dedication. Dedication, is probably the one that people skip over the quickest and is probably the silliest thing to skip over. One of the hacks of how to expand the power of seeds is to expand the kindness behind the act, which is why the Four Infinite Thoughts is so powerful. Because what you're doing with the Four Infinites is that you're having infinite love toward infinite beings. So having infinite love toward one being is also infinite, but to have that same infinite love toward infinite beings is infinity times infinity. So if you think about the power of that, the mind that has to be present to be able to hold that thought is so huge and so deeply imbued with that energy that the seeds become extremely, extremely powerful. So dedication is to say, I wish I could give all of this away to everybody. Like any good thing, you can start with one person, because, but eventually it's really nice to imagine giving away the benefits of everything you did here to all beings. Um, One of the things that can happen with these practices is they become a form of self-cherishing, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do. Because you're like, "Oh, I gotta meditate for me," and then someone threatens your meditation time, and now they're your enemy. Like you're like, "F you, man! I gotta go train on compassion." It's like so silly. And so dedication is not only like a really good karmic technique, but it also keeps it grounded in what you're trying to do in the first place. Is like it's to meet the definition of a Buddha is someone who has met their own needs and the needs of all other beings. So you dedicate everything to everyone because that's the whole idea. And if you start doing your yoga asana for me, 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 then your yoga asana becomes something that kills you, and your meditation becomes something that makes you lonely instead of something that makes, like there's no power in meditation from its own side. And so dedication is one of the ways to make sure that you're applying the power in the right place. Oh man, I don't know if we're going to be able to have a good full meditation today. We will. Let's do it. All right, last one. Requesting blessings. Um, Requesting blessing is an extremely advanced and nuanced topic that is also very accessible in a basic way. I want to just make sure that I'm fully impressing upon you the potential scope of requesting the blessing, there's a lot of teachings that need to occur, I think, to be able to really connect with this. At least for me, it took me, I don't know, 7 years to even do this in the first place. It didn't make any sense to me for the longest time. And then I got it, and then I got it, you know? And I was like, oh, this is what they were trying to tell me the whole time. I can't believe I didn't catch that. Um, so I really did this kind of like half-assed because I didn't think that I really didn't like the idea of like having a teacher or a guru or something like that. It was a huge block for me for a really long time because I didn't know how to see it, and I had to evolve myself because what I realized is that I was like pretty I had like trust issues letting other people into the deepest parts of my being. But then I just had to study where those people came from, right? To think that they were something external was a deep misunderstanding. And that was actually one of the things that was keeping them away from me is that I didn't understand the emptiness of my teacher. That the teacher came from me the whole time. And so it'd be really smart then to be wholly integrated. The thing that was inside of me from the beginning, I was trying to get it out and not let it in. So anyway, it just revealed a huge amount of like thought patterns that I didn't realize I had. So requesting a blessing, you're requesting a blessing from your teacher. And what the blessing is confession and rejoicing. It's the same energy from a different angle. Literally, requesting a blessing, the blessing is the diminishment of negative energy and the amplification of good energy. That's all the blessing is. Like when you think about like, oh, may I receive your blessing to marry your like child or whatever. What are you actually asking for? You're like, is there any bad stuff? No? Cool, let's lock that away. It's all good? Great, let's amplify that. That's what the blessing is. It's on clearing away the space. No, it's all good. It's all like there's nothing bad here. And then you get the positive, and now you're amplifying it. I gotta cough 1 second. So requesting a blessing is simply to ask your teacher for their blessing. And what you're literally doing is that you're asking for the truth of wisdom to become indivisible from your own mind. Yeah. Um, why do we have statues? Why do we have pictures like that dude? You know, that that Paul like why do we have all of these things? Because there's literally nothing in them. So why would having it be useful at all? Because to like just like try to shred a guitar the first time you pick it up is kind of hard. You know, so like I think it's kind of cool to sit down and try, but then to be real with where you are, like you need supports. Like I don't remember all 12 steps of the Wheel of Life exactly. And so I look at the image and it reminds me. So it's like a support system to remind me of something. So can I just drop into the direct perception of emptiness and have my mind become unified in holy union with ultimate reality? That nah. So I think I should still try that, but the teeth of my mind can't bite into that object with great affinity. And so it actually becomes something that's harder to access, even though I'm trying to go straight to the essence. Because it's about the mind's capacity to be locked onto an object with great affinity. Like think about like the tolerance of two machined pieces where the one just like just it's like perfectly like locked in. And so like if I don't have the object, if the male part isn't tuned to the female part, then I won't have a good joining. And so I have to be self-aware of what part I am to link up with the part that I need as my counterpart. And so to see a literal teacher and ask for their literal blessing might actually be a tighter moment of consciousness than me trying to be like 100% mystical in my understanding of something. Like it doesn't change my heart. I think you should still try every once in a while, you know? But the point here is to habituate the mind. And so make it a powerful moment which has the capacity to habituate the mind. Because if it isn't powerful, then you're going to stop doing it because it won't change your life. So, request a blessing from the teacher. How do you see the teacher? Jake, however you see the teacher. That's how you see the teacher. You see what I'm saying? Which could change moment to moment, day to day, year to year, decade to decade. What's the blessing? Jinlap. That's the Tibetan. Amplifying the good, destroying the bad. What is the blessing literally? However it is that you receive the blessing, that's the blessing. So be self-aware. I can't tell you that. I can give you some clues. I can give you some guides, but like at the end of the day, ask yourself, am I sinking my teeth into this object where I can really take a bite at it? That's where we should be engaging in our practice. All right. So that's the rest of the 7 ingredients. Um, have fun, guys. Um, okay. I'm gonna explain this. I don't know if we're gonna be able to have a fruitful meditation on it, but I do believe that I'll be able to transfer the understanding to you through explication, and that if you would like to, you could very easily go and practice this. For what it's worth, no one ever said this to me. No one ever guided me in this. I read it, I practiced it, and I realized the power of it. So, um, I don't know. All right, tower defense, classic genre of games. Um, if you combined the 6 preliminaries, including the 7 ingredient prayer, and then you use this technique, really awesome things will happen. Okay. So imagine that you're this little tower. This is level 1. And you start the game, and it's like level 1. And this is a little lighthouse, and you're surrounded very tightly by this dark forest, and thieves can come in the forest and pillage your castle and take your gold. And you have to start over again. Okay? The mind is the lighthouse, the tower, and your distractions are the thieves. So one of the things to learn to do to keep yourself in a state of single-pointed concentration is to learn how to find the thieves before they come inside of the castle. So a lot of times you won't even know that you're mind wandering until you've been 6 minutes into mind wandering. And you're like, oh my gosh. So what we need to do is develop what's called introspective awareness, which is the mind which is watching the mind. Um, or it's like, how am I doing? It's like watching the RPMs on your car while driving. You're like, oh, I'm redlining, or oh my gosh, I have no gas. Like, but you're still driving. So it's having this kind of bigger awareness, peripheral awareness, without losing focus on the specific point of attention. So the road is the point of attention, and the peripheral awareness is then, oh, there's a car that's about to T-bone me, right? Um, so you're like, I want to build a tower, I want to build a tower, I want to build a tower. But if you're not watching out for thieves, then you're gonna run out of resources and you won't be able to build your tower. So one of the ways to do this is uh, there's 2 things that you can do: spotlight and floodlight attention. So spotlight is boom, I'm focused on a single point. And that's a very finite point. So often and I really encourage you when you practice this to do it with the sensation of breath in the nose. So think of it as like a sphere. Like, what's the sphere of sensation? And then you contract it as much as you can until it's a single point. And so I used to do this with an inhale, but inhaling is increasing your prana, exhaling is decreasing your prana. And then single pointed concentration on a single point, as opposed to single pointed concentration on infinity, which is a different story. Single pointed concentration on a single point is very agitating. The mind can become very agitated, like ha ha hey ha ha. As you're like single point, single point. It's just like becoming super intense. And so if you do that with an inhale, where you're trying to inhale and go all of a sudden you will notice over 15 minutes or, weeks of that practice is that you will have a chronic imbalance. So you'll be very agitated, you'll be very short-tempered with people, you'll have no patience, you'll be very like overcharged. So exhale and bring the mind to a single point. And then inhale and expand it out. So instead of going like expand, exhale, if you do that, you'll become very drowsy and sleepy because expanding consciousness, uh, it dilutes the conscious power over a greater area. If you think of it like that, it's like if you put all of your weight in your pinky versus all of your weight in your hand, the like PSI, the pounds per square inch of pressure, is a lot different. It's the same amount of weight, right? So your conscious power is a certain amount, and if you put it on a single thing, it'll be very intense. And if you expand it out over a huge amount, then it'll be very disparate and very spread out. And so it's much easier to fall asleep in meditation if you exhale as you expand your mind. So flip it. So inhale, increase your conscious, like your pranic power as you're expanding your awareness, and then like let out some of the gas as you bring it to a fine single point. And so that's how you level up. So this is my next AI thing. So look, you have a new little thing right here. You have guards. So now the guards can go and begin to go around the perimeter. So think of it like a lighthouse, where the first thing is you're increasing your light as you inhale into the castle, and then exhale and do a 360. Anybody coming? All right, we're good. All right, so you're like, oh, there's a distraction coming. And so you head it off. You say, hello, distraction, gotcha, goodbye. And they're like, oh, darn, and they go back into the forest. And so if you start to have this awareness where you're like on the inhale, you bring sorry, on the exhale, you bring your concentration to the light, the mind. And then as you inhale, you scan the mind for distractions that are impending. It's like, any distractions, any distractions, any distractions? No? All right, cool. Back. Out. Any distractions, any distractions? And what happens is you go from this tiny little area where it's like, this is a really gross distraction, and you just headed it off. Oh, man. And then you get to a point where now you're catching subtle distractions. There's not even a chance for gross distractions anymore because you're so vigilant. You're so mindful. You're so aware of the quality of your mind. And then once you lock that in, it really does feel like you've like achieved level 2 or level 3 or level 4. And then you don't have to worry about it anymore because you're now catching the subtle distractions, which is the primordial version of a gross distraction, which is a primordial version of mind wandering. So if you can see it as a spectrum, my mind is wandering. Why? Because I had a gross distraction. Why? Because I had a subtle distraction. Why? And then there's another level which is too advanced for where I want to go in this last 3 minutes. Um, this is so incredible, guys, because you just learn so much about how your mind works. And then when you go to do your confession, if you already have a mind that works like this, if you already have a mind that is just disciplined in the habit, in the way of being, looking for distractions constantly and just heading them off, it becomes a subconscious process. It's not conscious anymore because you've trained all of the different minds in your being to understand how to engage with those. Because the mind is just it's a program. That's all the mind is. And so you're training the program because your animal mind is saying, I must be vigilant in order to not die. And so every single subtle distraction is a threat to my existence. And so you immediately actually subconsciously amplify subtle distractions into gross distractions to see if it's a threat. You're like, it's like, what the fuck was that? You're just like, oh, there it is. And you stop selling your freaking like moccasins or whatever, to see if if a lion's or a bear's gonna come and destroy your camp. So it makes a lot of sense from a survivalist standpoint that your mind works that way. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's not a conducive way to being very, very, very mindful. It's a very conducive way to survival. So you have to retrain your subconscious mind consciously by going into that process. And then, and what, here's the thing, it's not that you're not aware, it's that you're able to assess the quality of the distraction immediately in its most primordial state. And then you can elevate it conscious, and then your mind is very, it's like a good front desk receptionist where they're like, well, Mr. Moser, you're gonna want to take this call. And you're like, Tommy, you just let everybody come through. I can't even focus, you know? And so there's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Moser. I'll do better next time at filtering. So you train the receptionist on how to filter effectively. And then you're like, Mr. Moser, and you're just like, well done, Tommy. This is pure gold. Otherwise, I was able to concentrate for 8 hours consistently all day. And so increase the power of the lighthouse. See a greater distance. Protect the resource of concentration. Increase the power of the lighthouse. See a greater distance. Lock it in. And so I literally gamify it. When I first started disciplining myself in this, I literally gamified it like a tower defense game. Because my mind could really sink its teeth into that. So that's why I wanted to teach it like this. All right, friends.
This is awesome, Bob. Just a quick question. Is that something you incorporate into like mostly all of your meditations? Like you
Yeah,
started intentionally
yeah.
practicing it, and now it's just kind of routine in how you meditate?
Uh, Aspirationally, I would say yes. Literally, I'm not great every time I meditate, but in those, remember we take the 10 breaths and then go for refuge of bodhicitta. This is what you do in the 10 breaths, is you
Mhm.
establish, you clean the kitchen. You clear the area for you to do your work. And so it's like spread. And then oh, there's the edge of my spread because now it's starting to get fuzzy instead of clear. Okay. More, and so like, and then what you do is you see how far you can get in 10 breaths. And then all of a sudden you realize you don't even need 10 breaths anymore because now you're just like, you're there and you actually started where you used to even be at 6 breaths is now your starting point. So you can just kind of drop in pretty quickly if you'd like to. And so that's why I incorporate this is a preliminary. If you're going to do sacred work, prepare the area for it first. And so you do that with making the offering and tidying the external area. And this is a way to do like the tidying internally. And then you're just like, oh man, like I'm locked in. Let's go. No thieves can steal my attention now. I've cleared the area. Now I shall begin, my meditation. Yeah. And then like if you're like getting ready for a presentation that you're nervous about, this is a great technique. Right? Because you have all these thieves. Oh, yeah, am I prepared enough? Oh man, I'm not good at this. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And so you have all these mind stealers. And you're just like, yo, guys, chill. It's okay. Or, if you're, it's just such a way to be in every single thing that you do, which is the whole point of all of this anyway, right? All right, guys. We'll see what happens. The future is unknown. But it's been
Please
a
stay.
Please stay.
oh no, that's twice.
Please
All
stay.
right, shit. Uh, so I hope that these become, I hope this becomes something that a jewel that you can wear in your mind for the rest of your life.
It already is that for me, if I'm speaking for myself personally. I would
Yeah.
love, but I don't want to burden you. So I want you to focus on what you need to lean into and what you're feeling called to lean into. Um, if there's a way to stay connected to the wisdom that you have and just like refresh and bring attention to different points, I would still love to do that. Um, of
Cool.
course, yeah, I'm humble to this not necessarily be existing in this format, although I do love it in this format.
Yeah. No, it is quite nice. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to stay connected. I don't know what that looks like yet. Um, but yeah. I'm going through my life right now and trying to clear
Okay.
area. And so yeah, anyway, let's stay connected. You've asked me to stay connected, so I will. But we'll just change how exactly. But yeah, I mean, I love that.
Yeah, I'm open literally in any form. Well, one is ironic.